Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Rising Gems podcast. I am your host, Miroslava, and I am here with your other host,
Erica.
This is going to be episode 1 of the Twin Flame series. Erica, I am so excited to dive into this subject.
It's been long overdue.
Our intention is to assist all those that are currently navigating the Twin Flame journey. So whether you are a Divine Feminine, a Divine Masculine, whatever you resonate with, this is specifically created for you. Our intention is also to uplift the spirits of those who are currently in separation. This is a very hard process or journey that we all go through within this twin flame connection, so it is definitely something that we want to do. It's to uplift you, to bring perspectives that can hopefully inspire you and empower you to rise above the heartbreak and to step into your mission of service. Another thing that we want to do is to provide personal insights, guidance, and experiences to hopefully validate what you have experienced within your own connection. Erica, are you ready to dive in?
I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Being on this journey for many, many years, and also I've done tarot readings for Twin Flames for almost 6 years now. So I've had my fair share of doing the readings. I saw different perspectives, and I've literally seen people fight in the comments and pages, even on other sites, about what twin flames are and what it is and what it isn't. So with that said, I understand that we're all on our own individual journeys. So if there is something that I say or Miroslava says that just does not resonate, it does not mean that you aren't on the journey. Always, I cannot stress this enough. I tell all my clients, I've said this for years. Always take what resonates for you. Because one of the things that I have learned on my own journey is we are the only ones truly that know the connection more than anyone. Now with that all out of the way, so my perspective on the twin flame journey is it's a really beautiful journey that does have its very difficult moments, because in my experience, the twin flame journey has been the deepest, most spiritual connection that I have personally ever felt in my life, to the point where I questioned relationships in its entirety. Every single relationship that I've seen, every single relationship or dynamics that I've ever come into the knowledge of knowing, I guess you can say, there's nothing there's been times where I didn't even know if I can explain it. There were times where I felt like, I was like, are other people experiencing this too? Are people feeling what I'm feeling? And this is where it kind of goes into always take what resonates, because there's been many times where I would hear other people's opinions on their journey or their personal journey where I'm like, that's not what I experienced. That's why I mentioned what was in there, because the depth of what twin flames are to me, it isn't toxic. And that's another thing that we do want to clear up is the twin flame dynamic is such a beautiful connection, because when you meet this person, so many lines of events happen. They are your clearest mirror, right? That's where the whole twin flame comes in. And yes, everyone can be our mirror, but when I say they're your mirror, they will show you everything about yourself that you did not want to see before, that no one else can show you. And this is the most unconditionally loving, true love thing that anyone can do for us. And this is the part where people get so misunderstood about the connection, because they're not doing it intentionally. There's nothing about this connection where they're intentionally making you feel that like heartbreak. They're not intentionally doing the things like maybe a karmic situation would. They are just showing you all these things and showing you who you truly are and who you are not, like no one else can. Besides that, it's so hard to explain, but if you were on the journey, then you know. they make you feel in such a way, then it makes you feel like you're home with God. You are home with Source once again. And like, I have never met anyone in my life, and I've mentioned this many times even on my channel, of me being 41 years old, and I've never lived 3 states, met countless of people. I've never met anyone like this person. And just the dynamic, the love, the hardships, because it is extremely challenging, because there's parts of this journey where you want nothing but to be with them. You just want to like merge into them. You just want to be with them, because it's like being home with God or being home with Source. And one of the things that does happen after you meet your true twin flame is you do raise your level of consciousness. You go through dark nights of the soul. You awaken spiritually. Like, you better yourself, right? There's a growth process that just spirals when you actually meet this person, and no other person can do it quite like they can. That's why they're very special, and that's why they're very unique, and everyone's journey is different, but they just, the way it's like, I can't even explain it. This is why twin flames are the way that they are, because spiritual things, like spiritual connections, cannot be explained with words, because it's beyond the mind's comprehension. It's beyond all labels and words, and it's like beyond it all, right? And it's just the most beautiful and, like I said, tough journey. But when you meet your true twin flame, from that, you question everything. You could go through a spiritual awakening afterwards. You start to literally go through ego deaths, dark nights of the soul. You start raising your level of consciousness to such high degrees. And this person shows you what true love looks like. Because, and it can really anger you at times, because you feel like you were lied to, and like there's a whole process. And this is where it becomes difficult, because on the twin flame journey, you don't want to change this person, yet they're triggering you at the same time, which we will go into that in other episodes. But yeah, like it's like you're different, but you're the same person at the same time. Like on the inside, the best way that I can explain it on my end is this other person, we're like almost identical on the inside, especially on a soul level. Like we have so many similarities, yet how we show up externally is almost like the polar opposite. And it's like, that's like the twin flame, right? You can kind of go, and it's kind of like looking into a mirror, right? And you raise your right arm, and you look in the mirror and you look at them raising the same side of arm, but it's their left. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of like if you go into the mirror and you raise your arm up, you're raising your right arm up, but in the mirror, it's going to, because it's swapped, it's going to look like it would be their left arm. So that's kind of like how I view like the twin flame journey. It's like on a soul level, you're the same. On an internal level, even on human ways, you are like the same. But how you show up is the polar opposite. Like the masculine and the feminine are the polar opposites. So I resonate more with the divine feminine energy. How he shows up is the perfect representation of my divine masculine match. It's like, it's a perfect match that you can ever ask for. It's just an incredible journey.
I 100% agree. Especially what you said at the end, that this other person is, because that's exactly what I feel, is that this other person is the masculine energy within me that a lot of people don't see, because I'm not really embodying that masculine energy. I'm not expressing it in a physical way, because I'm more so on the feminine polarity. That's who I am here to embody. It is that feminine energy. And so I do feel, and I shared this with you, Erica, a few weeks ago. I don't even know when, but I was having here a conversation with myself, with my imaginary friends. And I was having a conversation he was present energetically in spirit, and then this other person was there also, and we were all just having a conversation. And I was telling this other person, not him but another person, that the energy that he embodies, everything that he is as a human, as a man, is exactly what people never get to see about myself, because I never show that part of me. I never show that aspect of me. And exactly everything that people do not know about this other person, about this man, is exactly what I embody, what I express, because it is more of that feminine energy. This other person, he's very masculine. He's very, I don't want to share too much information about him, but like, he's very masculine. He's always in that very lion energy, like very, it's like the sunshine. And I am more so the moon. I'm very spiritual. And he's very spiritual too, but he doesn't show that aspect of himself. It's a beautiful mirror. It is a beautiful reflection. And they are here as embodiment of energy that already exists within you. But it is energy that you just simply do not express. And another thing that I wanted to say also about the twin flames, and this is how I see the connection. We all are a soul. And I feel that we are part of a larger oversoul, a larger consciousness that is just massive. And that consciousness is what comes down to physicality and expresses or manifests itself in a different, in like a human body, or in different extraterrestrial bodies, in maybe elementals, or just in it takes form. Energy becomes form or matter. What I feel is that with this twin flame dynamic, we have been lucky to incarnate within the same timeline, within the same world, the same three-dimensional experience. Our energy, the essence of our soul, became manifest as this other person and as myself. We are the same energy, the same consciousness, having individual experiences. And that's why the connection just feels so deep, and so it is just something that you just immediately recognize when you come across this person, because you are identical when it comes to the energetic signature, to the energetic blueprint of what makes up the essence that is your soul. And everything is connected. I do believe that we are all part of the same one source or consciousness or God, but I do feel that each soul is part of an oversoul that is just this larger energetic container. And I feel that this person and myself, we are part of that same container that creates or manifests in many worlds or in many star systems as individual beings. And again, like, everything is one, we're all part of the same consciousness, but I do believe that consciousness is divided into different groups that many refer to as oversouls. Everything that I am is part of that oversoul, and everything that I am often manifests and becomes matter in other worlds, but it is part still of my unique energetic signature. And so yeah, that's what I feel that twin flames are. It is just part of the same energy, and it is a very beautiful journey that when you meet that person, when you see that mirror, you see everything that you've been kind of rejecting about yourself sometimes. And that's why it triggers the hell out of you and you run, because it's just fucking scary. And this other person, as much as they bring in the light, they also show you the shadow, and it's scary. It is terrifying. For this next section, Erica, let's just dive into our own individual journeys within this twin flame connection. And hopefully, to anyone that's listening, you resonate and you find a bit of validation through our personal stories. And yeah, like Erica said as well, everything is going to be different. You have a unique energy, a unique connection or dynamic with your twin flame. So it's going to be different, but I feel that there's going to be pieces here and there that will resonate deeply and validate a lot of your own personal journey.
I've definitely been, like I was telling Miroslava, I've been contemplating what I did want to say, but I wanted to be as transparent and open as possible, because I know one of the things that can help so many people on this journey is hearing other people's journeys. And so to keep as much of his stuff private as much as possible, I will only speak from my personal experience and my perspective. So we actually met like 10 years ago. We lived in the same apartment building at the time. And I just remember it was actually kind of interesting because the moment that he moved into the building, I had already been there almost 2 years. And that's when I started my weight loss journey. It was I look back and so many things fell into place the moment that we were close to each other in proximity. And I was in the gym. And I just remember seeing him all the time. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, because at the time I was very much in my ego. I was in a relationship already. So I wasn't even looking for anyone. Pretty sure he wasn't looking for anyone. So we were already on the same page there. But I just remember like thinking to myself, I'm like, who is this guy? Like, I kept seeing him and like the way that I felt, like I just, all of a sudden I kept like, there's something different, right? And then I remember he introduced himself a week before we moved out of the building. So many things added up. And I remember it was our last day in the apartment building. And there were 2 floors in the car's parking lot. And we were on the top and he was on the bottom. And I remember as we were getting in the car to leave, he didn't see me, but I remember seeing him pass by me in his car. And there was this feeling of sadness. I'm like, oh, I never got to say goodbye. And that was like I'm going to get teary-eyed because I never told him this. But like, I just remember being like, oh, I never got to say goodbye. And like, we had just met. I only seen him, like a little bit. And then we connected because, we kind of, when we introduced ourselves, I found him on social media and he added me and I added him. So like we were, connected on social media, and I only moved down the street. So we were still close to each other. And then I just remember this one time, like he would like posts of mine on Facebook at the time. And I kid you not, whenever he would like or comment anything, whether it was from his business or his personal page, his name was like the biggest, boldest. It was almost like the way that it looked energetically to me. It's hard to explain, but hopefully I can clear it. It's kind of like his whole name was just like there. Like it was stood out more than anybody else. It was like imagine everybody having the font size of like 16 and he was like 40. Like that's how much his name would stand out every single time he would like or, comment any of my posts. And I just remember one time I couldn't sleep and I saw him up, and because, like on Facebook, it would show like somebody's on, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to just message him, right? And just to somebody to talk to. And I messaged him and we had this conversation, and there were things that I said to him, and that after that, it's all it took. Like I remember saying something to him and I didn't know anything. I didn't know the type of connection. I didn't even know what twin flames were at that time, because this is like going back in like 2013. I didn't know anything. And I just remember saying to him after our conversation, or during our conversation, I remember, I'm sorry that happened to you, but I'm glad it brought you to me. And at the time I just said it and then I moved on. And I look back at that moment, and after I now know the journey and everything, I was like, I knew something. My soul knew something, because I knew that the experience that he went through before he met me was what was meant to bring him to me. And I didn't know that at the time. And this is why when we look back on our connections with our twin flame, we're going to notice something. Something's going to stand out that's so different from everybody else. And after that, we just connected. And I remember I knew him. I knew, and it's not like I was trying at the time, but I knew where he was. I knew who he was with. I knew everything. And I was the person that I was with for years, my family members, my friends that I've been with a long time. I never knew any of this. I never picked up any of this. It was just like we were so one, and we were so connected on an energetic level before I even knew anything, right? And I was just like, I just knew everything. And just the way that I felt connecting to him, I was just like, I wanted to be in his energy all the time. And this is where it eventually, why it gets so challenging when you do go through the separation at first, because it's like your soul's being ripped apart. And we will go more into that. So I don't want to go into it now, but just the way that I felt throughout the years, and eventually the last time, and it stands out because the last time I saw him physically, it was in 2014, and we had passed each other. And before then, I would always get nervous or fearful or anxious to message him, because I was starting to get a little bit because when you're on the journey and you have this strong connection, but they scare the living shit out of you at the same time, because there's a part of your soul that knows this is it. This person's special. This person stands out, right? More than anyone ever. But then your ego's going oh, hell no. Oh, hell effing no. You need to run the other fucking way, because you know that no one else can hurt you to the degree in which your twin flame can. And it's not like they intentionally do it at all. This is what I want to make extremely clear. It is completely different. They do not intentionally hurt you. It's just a product of the mirror effect of their role in our lives to show us the shadow, right? And so the last time that I passed by him, I was like, everything, all of that fell. All the anxiety fell, all the fear fell, right? Because when we are physically together, there's no worries, there's no fears. It's everything feels so amazing. I even told him, I'm like, your energy is just so amazing. And he obviously commented some things back to me, which he has. And they will also, I do want to also mention, they will give you little hints as well. There are certain things that they will say that, whether they understand the connection either or not, it's just they will let you know in their own little ways. And that was that. And then I just remember thinking to myself, why the heck was I tripping? Why was I freaking anxious? Why would I have all these fear, right? Because as soon as I was in the physical proximity of him, every worry, every fear, every anxiety that I had about talking to him, because obviously I had a massive crush on him, right? Before I even knew anything. And it was just the best experience ever. And that was the last time I saw him. And then 6 months later, I had my big spiritual awakening. And then obviously he moved, and I was going through my whole process, and he definitely reached out to me to ask if I was okay. And it wasn't until, and I do want to mention this too, because with your twin flame, you will most likely have a lot of telepathy. You'll just know, or you'll have conversations where you feel like you're going crazy. You literally feel like you're going crazy on this journey. And you just literally everything that you can possibly experience, tantric, the sexual energy is very intense, very strong, whether you physically are with them or not. And just, it's just everything is intensified, right? And after my spiritual journey, it wasn't until 2016, all of a sudden, everything twin flame came up. And I'm like, what the frig is this? I had no clue what twin flames were. All of a sudden, everything just popped up right up. And it was time. It was kind of with divine timing and everything that I had to go through to learn to release some egos and to clear some of my energy, so I was open to receiving. At first, for a little bit, I thought that the relationship I was in at the time, he might have been, but it didn't feel quite right. And then it was plaguing me. I was like, there's something going on here. There's some kind of message. I didn't know it at the time, but I'm like, there's something with this, because I don't know why it's showing up into my field. It was his name showing up. It was bam, bam in my face. And I remember we went to the dog park, and I was like, I remember saying to myself, I knew my ex at the time, my boyfriend at the time, I'm like, he's a soulmate. I just resonated with that. I was like, that fit, that felt really right. I just remember asking myself, I'm like, but who is my twin flame? And I said to myself, is so-and-so my twin flame? And that's all it took. And I kid you not, the feeling that I got in my heart, the best way that I can, have it be amplified, right? Imagine it be amplified. My heart was so full of joy. It was like my heart was jumping. It was like, she remembered. It was like, I feel like I'm going to cry. But it was like this moment of like, she remembered. And just like it came from my heart, and my heart just like bursted open, and like, I just knew. And it was the most beautiful, magical moment that I ever experienced in my life. And after that, I knew I had to make a decision at that point, and all of this is coming out. I have on my YouTube channel, but I knew I had to make a choice. At first, I was like, oh, well, like we have this connection, and, maybe I'll just stay where I'm at because it's safe. I was familiar. It was like 11 and a half years at that point that I was with my ex. And I was like, you know what? It was easy, it wasn't, horrible. But the time came, and I kid you not, a few days before I made up my mind, because I knew it was coming down heavy. Like, you got to make a choice. Like, which journey do you want? And I was laying down in bed, and it was eating me up. Like, I felt I was living a lie at that point, because my heart, my soul, my mind, like my whole spiritual being was on this person, like on my divine masculine. And like, I was being pulled and sucked in. And a few nights before, I was laying in bed, and I was just thinking about some things. And all of a sudden, I gently felt this hand on my waist, like on my side. And I heard the whisper, "I love you." And I look up, and there was nobody there. And I go out, and my boyfriend at the time, he was there, but he was out in the living room. And I was just like, "Did you come in the bedroom?" And he's like, "No." And I knew. Like, I knew what that was. And like, I've never experienced anything like that. This is why you can feel like you're crazy, because when you meet this person, like, everything spiritual opens up. Like, everything that you've never experienced before with anybody else, it opens up. And eventually, it just got to be too heavy and too uncomfortable to be in that situation that I was in at the time. And I had to do it. I had to take that risk, because it was only right for me, and it was only right for him. And I took that leap of faith, and obviously I ended it. I remember the first time that I actually said out loud that I loved my divine masculine, my ego tried to stop me so freaking bad. But yeah, since then, like, we've definitely had a wild ride. The twin flame journey is a very, very wild ride. And I can tell you, I have questioned it, even though I knew in my heart of hearts and my soul what this connection was. But because the external can show you many different things that will make you feel like you were misunderstood, or mistaken, I should say, when it comes to the journey. But you know what? Things happen, and it just brings you right back. And like I said, it makes you evolve. It makes you look at life and relationships in so many different ways. And I've never experienced love like I have for this person. We're very different. Like I mentioned earlier, like your counterpart can show up very different than you. They can be very different than what you normally would be, like date, as far as like relationships go. So it can be it's outside your comfort zone, right? That's why it can be very scary, because they're not safe. They are. I want to say that they very much are, but I mean, you're not familiar with them. There's an unknownness that's within this connection. And we've obviously always been connected on social media. We've always been friends, and we don't communicate as much as we did in the beginning, but I know it's just a matter of time. I'm not in a rush. I trust the process, and I honestly cannot see myself with anyone else. And this is where we will go more into, divine union, and those that, resonate with coming physically into divine union, and those that might choose not to. Personally, with the depth and what I've experienced, and I've tried, I've been energetically open, and seeing, is this good? Is what I'm still getting, right for me? Because I want to be honest. Like, that's one of the biggest things. I want to be honest. And I always come back to him. And I'm at the point where I've done that enough times where I know now. Like, I know I can't, it's like I can't be with anybody else because of the way that I feel about this person, the connection. I feel like I would be settling for less if I was to, choose somebody else, or to choose like a soulmate, or, another maybe divine counterpart, because in my heart, I would always have this person on my heart. And like, I've already been there, done that, and it's not fair. It's not fair to whoever I may be with other than him. And it's not fair to myself. It would be like I'm living a lie all over again. So like, because I've already been there, done that, I just know in my heart of hearts that we do have a timeline of coming together, and I'm just patient at this point.
Yeah, and what a beautiful journey. It is so amazing. And whenever we first started talking and you shared your journey with me, it was so validating for me just to hear other people's perspectives and to hear that what you experienced is very similar to what I experienced. I was like, wow, like this is real. I'm not crazy. This is actually legit. But yeah, so Erica and I have very similar journeys, and even the way in which we met this other person, because we were both on the weight loss journey. And this other person was actually, I don't want to say too much information, because I want to respect this other person. But it's like I want to be as open and as vulnerable as I possibly can, because I feel that that's where the juiciness of this series is. So yeah, I'm just gonna be open. I'm not gonna say any names, but I will be as open as I can. So I met this person back in like 2018, and that happened after I did this like mud race. It's like an obstacle race. And when I did the obstacle race, I was dying. So I wanted to do it again, but I needed to train. I needed to get better. And also I wanted to, get more fit. It wasn't necessarily to lose weight, but to get fit, to get healthy. Like I wanted to, like get those Beyonce legs. That was like what I wanted back then. I was told about this trainer that he was new. He was a new personal trainer, and my friend told me about him, and then she said that he was vegan. So I was like, back then I was vegan, and I was like, that'd be a very cool thing for me to do, is to get a personal trainer that is actually vegan, that understands the way I eat, and that doesn't force me to eat chicken and to eat meat and all that stuff. And so I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna reach out to him. So I actually did go to the Facebook and I messaged him. And he messaged back and he said that he wasn't ready to train anyone, but that whenever he was ready, that he would let me know. And the way this all happened was so crazy and like it's like intuitive. It was more of like me going with my intuition. Like I think I wasn't really even being intentional with the things that I was doing when I was reaching out to this person. It was just like I just felt that I needed to do that. I wasn't really like I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, it's literally like that. Like it's so spiritual in that way that you act out of character almost. Like you just do what you feel inspired to do and you don't even think about it.
So I sent him a message and I just did it. I wasn't really thinking. I just did it. And so that's the way it was for a few months. And and that was it. That was it. I wasn't even like thinking about it. Nothing happened. And then I think it was January 1st of 2018. It was probably 2018 when he actually reached out. And he said to me, "Are you ready to train?" And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like you like completely went away and now you're coming back and saying you're ready?" And I was like, "Okay, well," because it had been months by this time. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So we started training on January 1st and we met at the gym. And this is something that I wanted to say also, is that before, I've never been in a relationship. So that's one of the fears that I had going into this twin flame connection, twin flame journey, is that I just didn't know how to engage with other people, how to connect with other people, especially when it comes to like a partnership, like love. I was just so naive and just not ready for that at all. But what I wanted to share is that whenever I would have a crush on guys before, whenever I spoke to the guy, I would always be so nervous, like shaking even. And maybe that's my social anxiety, but I would be shaking talking to the guy that I had this huge crush on. But when I met this person, it's like all the shakiness, the nervousness, the anxiety all went away. It was like I was there in front of him, looking at him in the eyes, and it was just like I felt safe. I don't want to say if maybe at the time it felt like home, but now looking back, I can say that it felt like home. Like I was in a safe container, in a safe space. And especially me at the gym back then, it was always like it gave me a lot of anxiety just because like I just had a lot of insecurities and a lot of body issues. But being with him, I always felt very safe, and especially that very first day that we met. I always go back to that day because whenever we were done with the session, we were talking and we were saying goodbye. What I did is before leaving, I looked at him in the eyes, I extended my hand, and we shook hands. And this is something that I don't really do with people. Like, I don't like touching people. I'm an Aquarius moon. I'm very like, I love you, but like from a distance. And with this guy, I just felt, it's like, again, I wasn't thinking. It was all intuition, all me just, I don't know, just doing things. And so I extended my hand, we shook hands. And when we shook hands, what I feel now is that was the beginning of our contract as twin flames within this lifetime. It was the initiation into this journey for the two of us. And it felt like, like fireworks. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was just like this chemistry and this like sparks and just like electricity. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was just like this very amazing, just magical moment that I just felt then. And now looking back, it's always a point of initiation that I always go back to because it just felt so magical. And that's the moment that I go back to whenever I am doubting this connection, because that's something that I've never experienced with anyone ever. And a little bit after that, I got really sick. I think I had the flu or something. And I just, looking back now, I feel that in a way I made myself sick because I didn't want to be around this person. This actually kind of like clarity that is coming down to me now, because I remember it's like I wanted to be with that person all day, every day. Like I was just so attracted to that person, to his energy. Not so much, it's not about the physicality, the way he looked, which is, I think he's very handsome, but it was just the energy. There was this pull, this magnetic pull towards his energy. And I just wanted to be around that energy. But at the same time, I felt that it was too much for me energetically, for my nervous system, for me. And again, like I said, I've never been in a relationship. I don't know how to deal with those sort of connections. And I feel that in a way, I got sick because I didn't want to be around this person, but I knew that I had to be around this person. So it was a whole conflict. But yeah, so I was sick for a while. So I didn't see him for like a week. But he did reach out and even told me about like this remedy that his grandma had. But anyways, so we started again training, and it was very like a push and pull. It's like that sort of experience that we all have within this journey. It's like you want the connection, but then it gets too serious and it's like, nah, I'm scared. Let me pull back. I don't want this. And then, so that's pretty much how it was with me. I was like, oh, I'm all about it. I love this. It feels so good. And then I'm like, nah, it's too serious. I'm afraid. I don't know how to do this. So I would take a step back. And that was pretty much the way it was throughout the entire journey. But then there came a point in which I got the courage. And actually, I think this happened. Actually, I think this happened pretty much very soon after we met. Um, so I got the courage and I said to him, not in person, because I wasn't that courageous, but I did send him a message, and I said to him that I liked him. I said, you know what? I think I like you. And he took a while to respond, but he did eventually message me back, and he said that, because he's a personal trainer, that it's not ethical for him to date, someone that he is training. And he also said, I don't like you like that. I think you're smart, this and that, but I'm not really into you this way. And when I read that, I was so my ego, let me tell you, my ego was so hurt. And I responded to him and I said, you know what? You're too old for me anyways. It would never work out. And I was so hurt. It's my ego. It wasn't me. It was the ego that was just hurt by the words that this man was speaking. And I need to get him back. I need to say something to hurt him too, because he hurt me. And for the whole weekend, I was just in my head thinking about, how unworthy I was, how not beautiful enough I was, and going into these shadows in fighting these inner demons. And that's kind of like where the fight began within myself, within the underworlds of, like the belief systems that I had, even the thoughts that I had about myself, the ideas. And that's when I started to fully diving into the shadows to face my own self and to start addressing those things that I didn't have the courage before to address about, my own self-image. And before this, I had no confidence. I hated myself. I didn't even look at myself in the mirror because I thought I was so ugly. So I didn't want to face myself. And so there was all of this that I was kind of keeping within myself and just pushing to the side. All the demons started to really come up. And that's when the whole battle, again, like I said, the whole conflict began. And yeah, so that whole weekend, I remember I was in my room and I just cried for 24/7 for like 2 days. And not necessarily now looking back because of what he said, but because of the demons that those words kind of woke up within myself. Because before this connection, I was under the illusion that I was happy. I thought that I had life made. I was in my early 20s. I had a good job. I had money. I had a family. I was healthy. I thought I was healthy. And I was doing all of these amazing things. But whenever all of this started taking place, I realized how truly unhappy I was. And I actually wanted to share a quote from one of the songs that I listened to, and it's just a beautiful song. It's in Spanish, so I'm going to have to translate it. But in Spanish, the song says something like, exactamente viniste tú cuando yo empezaba a sentirme inmortal. Viniste tú a hacerme dudar, which is something like exactly the moment that I was beginning to feel immortal, that I was beginning to feel powerful. It was in that exact moment that you decided to show up in my life. Hold on. Let me breathe. And I think this is something that I've also been keeping within myself and I haven't fully addressed. So I think it's coming out. And it's not, I don't know if it's anger, if it's frustration or what it is, but it's like, it was in that moment, like, bitch, I was doing so good. I thought I was happy. But then you came into my life and you made me doubt myself. And it's not that he was making me doubt myself, but it was like he just showed me that I wasn't really happy, that I was living under this illusion, that everything that I thought was perfect within my life was an illusion that I was creating. It was just belief systems that I was embracing that weren't even mine. It was just programming. I was believing the lie that society had fed me. And when he showed up, the lie came to the surface and it all became so real. And I had to address those things because I realized that it was all an illusion. So yeah, it was like, bitch, it's like you came into my life just to show me how fucking under the illusion I was.
Living a lie.
And yeah, I guess I am angry for you showing me, for making me do the work. Yeah, so that's I think that's what I learned, and that's what happened in my life because of these journeys. Like, all the illusions that I had created crumbled, and I was forced to do the work. I was forced to face myself, to face my demons, to face society, and to it's like the tower fell, and I had to, piece by piece, little by little, I had to rebuild my own identity, my own self, my own belief system. And that's been the whole process. And I think that for anyone that's listening, I feel that you may resonate a bit with this, because this is part of the journey. It's not to hurt us, it's not to break us, it is to make us stronger, and to show us where it is exactly that we've been lacking, that we've been just maybe not doing enough, or maybe we've been putting so much energy. Yeah, maybe we've been putting so much energy into one aspect of life, but it's like that's the wrong side of life, because it's not real. It's a lie. And so yeah, yeah, that's, wow, that's just an epiphany that I just had. So yeah, so this series is going to be very healing for all of us. Uh, but yeah, so that's kind of what happened. And so after, back to the story. So after, this whole weekend of me just crying and being, feeling that rejection again, because this is something that happens very often within this connection, it's the rejection, and having to endure that rejection, and it takes you back to moments before where you were also rejected. So although it hurts in the moment, it is pointing you in the direction of the root of the pain, and that's where you are having to go back to address and to heal, to feel the pain so that you can integrate it and understand it, and then heal it and become, see it transform and become more love that is unconditional, and forgiveness. So I didn't achieve that within the first few months, or even the first years. But after a while, I went back to train with him. Actually, that happened on a Friday. I was, heartbroken for the whole weekend. And then on the Monday, I saw him again. And it was very, I don't know, it was just very, like, the energy was just off, and it was just because of the way I was feeling. And I then realized that he was feeling exactly the same way that I did. He didn't say anything, but like Erica was saying, you'll get hints, and you're so spiritually connected that you just feel it. You just know what the other person is going through. And so whenever I saw him again, he started saying things, and he was like, about that thing that you said to me on Friday, and I just want you to know that blah 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 blah. So it was all about, like, things that he wanted to say about what happened. And I was so embarrassed. I was just listening to him, like, in my mind, saying like, bitch, don't even bring this up, I am so embarrassed, I don't want to know. But I feel that that's something that he needed to express, because in the message he was very, like, cold, and very, like, just short, and very, I don't think he said what he wanted to say. But in that moment he said something that really kind of gave me hope, which then also eventually created more confusion. But he said something like, I'm just paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly the words, but he said something like, I wish I was courageous enough like you to say what I felt. And in the moment, it was like he was saying this about himself, like not having the courage to say what he felt to someone. And the way that he was saying this, and the way that he was looking at me, I felt that that was his way of him saying, hey, I feel the same way, but I can't do this right now. Like, I don't have the courage to do this right now. And for some time there was again like this push and pull, and he actually did take a step back energetically. I could very much feel that he just was not there with me when we were training. But eventually something happened and he started flirting with me again. He started doing things and saying things. And I was like, it was like a whiplash of, like energy and how it would change. But again, it's just like that's the push and pull. It's just like, you're afraid, you pull back, and then you feel the love again and you step back into the energy, into the connection, and the flirting begins and the chemistry, you feel it, and it's just so strong. And it just stayed this way for several months, and eventually things happened that I'm not going to go into detail. But I was just forced to take my power back because I felt that I was giving so much of myself to this person. And I feel that the way in which I was giving myself was energetic. It was I was there for him, always spiritually, energetically, and always to support him as well, because he went through some things and I always showed up. But whenever we were in person, I was always very guarded, always very, and again, that's just because of I just don't know how to deal with these sort of things because I've never experienced it. But whenever I was behind the phone or texting him, I was always very supportive, always there, and always, just showing up and making him feel just hopefully in a way seen. But yeah, so eventually things happened. I just felt that I wasn't being honored. I wasn't being I felt that he just was taking too much of my energy, and I just needed to honor him. He made a choice. He made, he was on the journey that he had chosen, and I had to choose myself. So I took a step back. I stopped training with him. I had to just focus on me, and that was the hardest thing that I had to do, because I knew that it had to be done. I knew for months that I had to take a step back, but I wasn't doing so because the energy, when it was good, it just felt so good. And I just wanted to be around him. But eventually you do have to make a choice, and you have to say, hey, I am hurting. Like, this is painful for me. Seeing this person like every other day, or whenever you see this person, it is just so hard not to be able to tell this person how you truly feel, especially if you already told this person like, hey, I like you, and then you were rejected. You feel like you can't say it again because he's gonna reject me again. So I don't want to put myself through that situation. So in a way, it was just fear, I guess, and I just took a step back and I didn't see him. And whenever I took a step back, that's when energetically I could feel him stronger than ever. Like you, Erica, I have a very similar experience. When I was in my room, I was laying down in my bed, I was actually listening to music. And I feel for anyone that's listening, a lot of the times messages do come through music. And so whenever you feel inspired to listen to a song and you pay attention to the lyrics, you feel that energy in your chest, like it's this person talking to you. More than likely, it is that person communicating with you through that specific song. But I was lying in my bed and I was just listening to this song, and I could feel the pain in this man. I could feel him screaming and just like so frustrated and so angry. And I don't feel like he was angry with me. I feel like he was angry with himself. And I feel that, and this is just a feminine perspective, right? But it's like, I feel that the masculine, because they are just so not in touch with their feminine energy and with their spirituality. Everything is it's so analytical and so, like, I don't know how else to explain it, but it's like they just, I feel like in a way they do hurt a lot and they don't express it, because men, the masculine energy, boys, you can't cry. You can't show your emotions, don't be a bitch. And so I feel like in a way, a lot of the men or the masculine energy within the connection, they do hold back a lot of that pain and a lot of the frustration. And in that moment when I was listening to that song, I could feel the pain that this man was holding. And that helped me have more compassion for this person, And that's what kickstarted like the process of forgiveness and just like loving this person regardless of what this person chose to experience. And going back to how my perspective is that twin flames are like your own energy manifested in a different body, I began to have this very big just gratitude and love for this person, because it's like, hey, you are experiencing things that I can't experience. You are experiencing the love that I can't experience, or that I, at this moment, I'm not able to experience. And I was able to find gratitude and to, to hold this man with compassion and to be able to honor this person's boundaries. And I, there came a point, and like Erica said, maybe I'll jump into this story in the next episodes when we touch about the triggers and the fears and all of that separation. But eventually, I was able to reach a point in which I was just able to forgive, to have compassion. And the thing I feel that was the hardest was to forgive myself for not doing enough, for not saying things when I really wanted to say shit. I think that's been the biggest thing for me, is that I was so guarded when I was with this person, when I was in the connection. And by the way, nothing happened, like we were never in a relationship. It was only the connection that I could feel energetically. And that's why, most of the times, if you're in this journey and you're in a similar situation, we feel like we're going fucking crazy. And it's like we are gaslighting ourselves into believing, that maybe into believing that we're crazy, or into believing that it's real. But eventually I had to forgive myself for not doing enough, for being so guarded, for being so fucking stubborn, and for not saying things to his face when I had the chance. And so, yeah, it's been a beautiful journey looking back now, but in the moment it felt so fucking painful. It was agony. It was so painful. But there were moments in which it was just so beautiful and so magical, and it was those moments that just make this journey so worthwhile and so worth the pain and the confusion and the frustration and the anger. But yeah, I feel like I was all over the place, but I was having epiphanies myself telling this story. But yeah, I feel that it's a beautiful journey that is full of ups and downs, but it's so worthy, so worthwhile.
This connection is so infinite. And that's another thing too that is it's almost like, whether you want to look at it from like friends or past relationships that some of us might have been in, eventually it gets to a point where like, it's done, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
And the twin flame journey, at least in my experience, it never felt like it was over. It never felt like it was done. Even when I was like, maybe it is, it just didn't feel right. And another thing too that I do want to mention is, there are many times where we're going to feel anger with other people. We're going to feel things with, for like friends or just people that we're angry at, right? But there's something about the way that this person activates you that it's like nobody else can. It's hard to explain, but like the things that they make you feel, it's like no one else can make you feel that way. And everything, at least to me, like this person is so perfect to me. And even when we were like communicating back and forth, we've always complimented each other. Like there's always been this thing, or we'd be very playful. Like I love to joke around with him. Like that was like always my thing. When we were communicating more, I would always like joke around with him and be very playful with him. And it was just so fun for me. And there is not a day since, like for a while, where he's not with me. Like I will wake up in the morning, he's the first thing I think of. Like right before I go to bed, he's the last thing I think of. And it's not in this, I mean, there are times where I did have to heal attachment because of the way you feel, you don't want to let this person go. And that you have to, though. Like that's part of the journey, is like, you know on an inner soul level, like it's time, like you experience everything that you can experience, but the way that you experience it is so different and so unique that only you will know. Like somebody outside of you, this is why there's so many misunderstandings and distortion around the labels, because there's people that aren't on the journey that are looking from the outside and they're thinking that your experience is this or that. But until they're in your body, until they feel your feelings, until they, think your thoughts, until they experience the energy, the dynamic, the telepathy, the spiritual merging, the astral realm, like all of this has happened to me personally, where I would like merge with him in the astral, and like I would just connect to him so deeply on a spiritual level. And the way that I saw him and the way that I experienced him was like if I was having a relationship with God. And so that's what makes the twin flame journey so different. And then like, I don't know, like it's just this connection that's infinite. Like you can't, no matter how hard you try, because your ego tries to get rid of this person or not want to be, no matter if you're the masculine or the feminine, you're either, like Miroslava was saying, there's definitely this push and pull where you're like, yes, I want it. And then you're like, oh, hell no, I'm going to try something else. Or at least at this time, I'm going to focus elsewhere, or, do whatever. And a lot of the times I knew I was just lying to myself. But because I always came back to him, and sometimes it would be quick. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to try and be open to something else. And like a day or two would go by. I'm like, okay, I can't, like, it just doesn't feel right. And so, but throughout this journey, you do come to a place of like forgiveness and compassion. And one of the things that I love about this connection is there's not anything that he can do that would make me stop loving him unconditionally, truly. Of course, we don't have to be together physically for me to love him. Like that's a done thing, right? There's nothing that he can do. Trust me, I've been there, done that. I think whether he's intentionally tried or not, he's tried it. But it's just, there's nothing. And of course, the reason why we're going to go more into that, but there's a reason why there is a physical separation for however long it is for each person. It's different for each person, but just, I can't explain it. There's just some things that you can't explain within this connection. But me saying that, for those that are truly on the journey, you already know. Like, I don't even need to go into details. All I need to say is there's some things that you just cannot explain to other people. That's why, you might have heard, like, there's just some people you can't tell a lot of your friends. You got to be mindful of who you talk to, because they just won't understand. And that's why a lot of us do find twin flame readings or find twin flame articles or try to connect with people on the journey, because when people are on the journey, they get it. They 100% get it. And I feel like that's why I was guided to do like twin flame readings and to connect with other twin flames, because I get it, right? And so when you're on the journey, it's just such a journey that like I said, I can't see myself with anyone else. And it's just, that's my journey, right? Some people can, and that's their journey. And that's where I've questioned, like, I mean, honestly, I've let go of the labels, but this is the label. And I do see him as like a divine counterpart too. I kind of go back and forth, but they're kind of together at the same time. But yeah, it's just, I just love this person. And what I love, again, like about this connection is it, because it's so spiritual, because it's on a soul level, that it doesn't matter how much we change. It doesn't matter how much we grow. The love is always there. And the best thing that I can explain is if someone asked, well, why do you love him? I would probably respond, I just do. It's not because of how he looks, even though I'm very attracted to him. It's not because of, something that he can do for me, because we weren't together in a relationship and there were times where we weren't connected, and I still loved him. And it was difficult, even through the painful times, the very painful times. And It didn't matter if he was with somebody else. It didn't matter. It's almost like, when Miroslava was telling her story and she was talking about, like, when you were talking about the anger and stuff like that, it eats you alive to feel that way about this person. At least in my experience, like, I had to forgive him. Like, I had to let it go, because any emotion that was not love for this person, it just felt like I was poisoning myself, right? I've been angry at other people in my past. Like, trust me, to just say there were moments when I was very much closed off, and I even used the hate word for not him, but this is like years ago when I was like younger. I've been so incredibly angry at people. I've judged, like, I've done it all, right, before my spiritual awakening. And I could stay that way. Like, I wasn't like, it didn't affect me to where it did with him. Like, any time that I would feel anything, like I said, that was not love, it ate me alive. And I was like, I gotta let this go. I gotta forgive. I gotta look. Literally, I would go into the creaks and crannies of my inner world and be like, okay, what's here? What do I need to look at? What am I still holding on to? And all I want to do is love him. And it's just a natural thing. It's not like you have to feel like you're forcing it. It's not like when you're in a relationship and you're like, oh, well, we're a relationship, we're supposed to feel this way. It's not like that with a twin flame or your true counterpart, because you want to only love them. But emotional depth is also emotional fulfillment is within the connection. And with emotional fulfillment, it's like you feel everything. But at the end of the day, the intensity and the depth of the love and the connection, it's just, it will bring you, like, I cannot tell you how many times I've cried on this journey just at how beautiful it is and just how grateful and lucky I felt and still feel to have met someone like him and to meet him and just know that this love exists. Because it's like, we've been going so long, because many times we probably have met our twin flame, but we just never was able to come together. That's why I feel like some people, they might have other reincarnations with their twin flame where they will come into a romantic union, possibly. But some of us, like, that's what we're here to do. That's what we're, our contract is, right? So yeah, it's just you feel like God is like handing you this blessing right in front of your face, and the only thing we got to do is remove the ego. And that's where the separation comes in, which we will go to. But it's just like, it's like no other. That's the best way that I can explain it. But like I said, if you are truly on the journey, you get it. Like, I don't even have to say anything else. Like, you're like, I got you, sis. Like, yes, I got you. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you were saying about the anger, that kind of resonated with me, because I've talked to you about this before, and I always say I never felt angry. Or I've said, like, I don't know if I was angry. What I was experiencing was anger. And because of how I reacted when I was saying, the whole quote, I feel like I was actually angry. Like, I was angry, but I was pushing that emotion aside because it didn't feel good. I did not want to feel anger for this person, because anger is a very, very hard emotion. And so thinking about this now, I feel like I was very angry. Not just at myself, but I was very angry at this other person for what my perspective was, for what he put me through, and for what I experienced and for what I felt. And because I felt that I didn't deserve that. And so I'm coming to the realization that I was actually angry, and that this emotion kind of comes out every now and then in the form of like deep emotion. And that's why I was confused as to what it is that is kind of still holding me back from this connection. And I am now realizing that it is actually anger, and that I'm having to allow myself to step deeper into that emotion to finally
Yeah.
release it
That's
or
why we
to integrate
push,
it and
right?
release it.
That's why
So
we
I have
we
homework now.
we we know on a heart and soul level that this is a
Yeah.
connection that we truly want and that's truly destined for, many of us, whatever ending outcome that we, because you do end up letting the outcome go, whatever that is. But during the journey, because of the way and the depth and the love that you do truly feel, it amplifies everything else. And when you feel these emotions that you've suppressed, because that's where the shadow work comes in, right? And we don't intentionally do it. Like my counterpart, he never really intentionally tried to do anything. Like, even if to one degree, if he was unconscious and he did it, but it's like you don't want to hurt the other person. Like, there were times where I was hurting and I didn't want to blame him. And so I've always spoken my truth. And that's one thing that he's always complimented me on. At one time, he's like, that's what I dig about you, is like, because I always told him how I felt or what I was doing at the time. But then there was a time also where I was telling him the truth, but I felt like I was too scared, or messaging, you can only go so much. But it's just like, it just comes out in a way, in the intensity that it's so uncomfortable to feel. But these are the things that we didn't want to face. And they're the only person. And it's kind of going back to Kali Ma, because I did see this article where some people see her as a compassionate goddess because she comes in and she roars, and we are going to do an episode on her. And they're like Kali Ma. We are like Kali Ma to them, where we show up and we show them everything they didn't want to face. That's why we settle for safe relationships. This is why, and when I say safe, I mean we're familiar with them. We know what to expect. We don't care if they leave. We don't care what happens at the end of the day. And even if we do, like, there's all other, these unhealthy codependency that we have for these other people, but it's like it's just so different. Like, it's like this connection where they're the only ones that can do it. And it's kind of like, I love you so much that I am willing to have you kick and scream, for you to punch walls, for you to do what you need to do. And I'm going to show you what you refuse to face your whole entire life. And I'm the only one that can do it. And it's such this, and it's like, when at the end, once you go through it and once you feel it, once you cry it out, once you allow yourself to feel it all, and you come at the end of it and you forgive and you have compassion, you see how much love it takes to do that for someone. Because, and trust me, I know I've triggered him too. I've triggered him too. Just by always messaging him or wanting to be in a space, like, I know he's wanted to push me away. He's ran, like, I mean, we both have. And so it's just like, when you feel you're in these connections, this love is so strong, whether we consciously are aware of it or not, because we're all energetic beings. This unconditional love, this true love, is so strong to such a degree. We come in and say, I got you. I got you. I love you. And I'm going to show you every lie that you've been living. I'm going to show you every identity that you thought was you, but it's not. I'm going to show you the life that you truly, truly want. But first, before we can get to your destined life, the life that you're truly here to live, we got to fuck shit up first. We got to destroy it. We got to destruct it. There's going to be chaos. And at the end of it, once the debris settles and once it's cleaned up, how can you not love this person? To the depths of your soul, to the depths of your being. And like, that's why I cry all the time, because I can tell you, like, it's such a beautiful journey, and nobody else can show you what they can. And that's why it's like, I've let go of the outcome. I've let go of, anytime that I would see, oh, I still have an attachment here, or, oh, I still have fear here, I work on it, and I work on not playing the victim, because you do, like, there's parts of the journey where you feel victim, like Miroslava was saying, like, you literally feel like this person's intentionally doing something to you, even though they're not really. And you do come to that realization when you raise your level of consciousness. And once you clear it all out, you can see that the reason why you thought that was because of where you were at consciously at the time. So it's kind of like we have blinders on, and then once we release the blinders, we can see the higher perspective. And then we're like, oh, okay, that's what it was. That's why I couldn't see what I can see now. And that's why you do get to a place where, regardless if your counterpart has told you that they loved you or not, I have told him. He has definitely told me some things, not quite like I love you, but he's definitely told me things that are very equivalent or equal to that.
You're so lucky. Mine is just like, no, I'm not going to talk to you.
It definitely had its moments, let me tell you. But this man, it's just, and I've told him, I'm like, how perfect, you're just perfect. And of course, like, like, I know his astrology chart, so I know it's just like, we all have our own things that we like to do. Like for me with him, I love being playful. Like I love just complimenting him and like just like saying all these things, that joking around with him. Like there's times where I've joked around with him, and just like there's things that I want to continue to do with him when it's time. But yeah, it's just like I could not. And I feel like that's why too I've triggered some people on the journey, because I never gave up. And I know how hard it can be. And it can be like, there's people that do end up wanting to give up, or there's people that just choose not to, remain on the journey, which that is completely fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like if that's what truly people resonate with. But I can tell you, I've definitely triggered a lot of people. Not a lot of people. That's an over exaggeration. My rising is Leo, but I've triggered some people. And I feel like it's because of how devoted and how much, no matter what has happened on the journey, I've continued to plow through, and I remained faithful. I've never been with anybody since I left, like my ex and I separated. I've never been with anybody else. If you've listened to the other relationship episode, it's in there. But yeah, I can't. It's just not within me to. And it's not from a place of an attachment. It's not from a place of codependency, because I'm fine being single. I'm fine being, doing my own thing for now. It's just, I just know. And we do come to that realization that it will be time. Like there will be divine timing that's at play. And because I've asked all the questions, I've been there, done that, I just know I'm at that place on my journey where I just know. And I'm just patient. I'm doing my thing. I'm trusting source. I'm trusting the timing. I'm trusting him. I'm having faith in him that, he's doing what he feels is best for him. And he's changed. Like, because we've always been connected. I can see shifts in him as well. And that's always nice to see, even though we don't communicate a lot, I can see I'm still connected to him through social media. So I can still see, and I know where he was when I met him, and I can feel the difference and the shifts in him now. And he's already made a comment about how much I've changed, and because of course I've told him that he's been a huge part in my transformation, and he's definitely commented that I have been in his life as well, but not to the degree in which I've said it. But it's just, yeah, that's really, I mean, I could go forever, but it's beautiful. It really is.
And like Erica was saying, it's like we're not hopelessly in love with these men and waiting for them to come save us, We are literally right now, we have our own podcast. We are embodying the divine feminine polarity, the divine feminine principle. We are doing what we love. We are passionate about what we love. Our careers are just hitting this peak, and we are growing and maturing. We're becoming better and better each day. So it's not that like that we are stuck just waiting for these men to quote unquote wake up and to come, save us. We are literally on the divine feminine mission. We are doing the shit. We are getting things done, and we are still happy. And yes, we love these men, we love these people, but at the same time, it's like Erica was saying, I do believe also in divine timing, and I know that if it's meant to be, it will be. And I am more than open to it, to this opportunity, if it comes. And for anyone that's listening, that is on a journey, that is going through a separation, know that it will happen if it's meant to. And that at this time, the best gift that you can be yourself, that you can give yourself, is the gift of love and the gift of compassion and the gift of patience and forgiveness, and also the gift of joy and love and happiness and passion. And dream big and go for your goals, and don't stay stuck in the heartbreak, in the past, in the ifs, what could have been. Step out into the world and absolutely allow the time to heal and to feel all the emotions, but don't stay there. Come out to the light and enjoy yourself, love yourself, play with yourself, have fun, and do what you feel you are here to do on the solo mission. And this is something to look forward to in the next episodes. There's one in which we are going to dive into the Divine Feminine mission, the perspective that we have of what this looks like and what we are here to do as individual beings. But yeah, just a reminder for you to take it easy with yourself, to be compassionate with yourself, with this other person, and to allow yourself to be happy, to be in love, and to be open to love. To don't because things didn't work out, don't just shut yourself down to love. Really awaken the heart and allow love to be part of your life. Don't be resentful, and feel the anger, but be open to love. I think love to me is just such a beautiful feeling. I know that, if it's meant to be, it will be when the time is right. And even when you don't feel ready, if it happens, it's because, girl, you're ready to level up and you're going to be accessing so much more of yourself. So yeah, just be grateful regardless. And Erica, does it feel complete now? The episode?
Yes. Especially since we have more episodes to talk about all the other stuff. I feel like we've definitely covered a lot in this one. And it's been lovely. I've loved talking about it, because it's just, I'm so passionate about this journey, and it's just, my heart feels very full. And this whole time, all I could think about is him. So it's like, he's there, right? Like, he's always there. Like, it's like, no matter what they do, we can't get rid of him, no matter how hard we try.
Yeah, that's just how it is. Anyways, thank you all so much for joining us in this very long conversation. Again, this is just episode 1 of a Twin Flame series. We will be having more episodes diving into the soulmates, karmic soul contracts, and then also, again, the Divine Feminine mission, what that looks like. We are going to be giving you perspectives and tools so that you can access more of your divine mission as a Divine Feminine. And so there's a lot more that we'll be sharing with you. Thank you again so much for joining us today. And if you resonated with any of the information, perspectives, stories that we shared with you, definitely follow the podcast and leave us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Those reviews are so helpful for the podcast in general. It helps us grow and hopefully also access or reach more people. So if you have 5 minutes to leave us that review, it would be so appreciated. And what else can we say? So if you have anything to share with us, any epiphanies maybe that you had listening to our stories, you can send us your message or comment to the Ask Us Anything link. You can go to the Ask Us Anything link in the description. You can go to the webpage, go and fill out the form, send us your comment, your question, your story, whatever you want to share with us. We will be so happy to hear from you, and also just to learn a little bit more about you if you feel inspired to share a little bit about yourself. And yeah, so that's gonna be it for today. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.